Once I've cleaned up the blanks on the sand, the disc sander, to clean out the inside of the blank once the CA has gone hard is actually quite easy. I just use a marking knife or a pointed tool, and I just press on where the CA meets the brass tube. I push like that, brings it out nice and cleanly, and there's the CA. Sometimes you just get a bit of glue out on the other side of the tube as you're twisting, but yeah, this one seems, oh no, there's a bit there, and that's it. On the disc sander, it actually puts a little burr around the inside face of the brass tube. I just use a bit of sandpaper as a cone. I just put a slight chamfer on the brass tube. That's done. Once, before I put it on the mandrel, I just use a thick black texture and I mark the inside of the tubes where the center of the blank is. Just so after we've turned it and all the markings have been turned off, we can then locate where the center point is of the blank. Okay, the blanks are in the mandrel. Don't over tighten the mandrel. I basically just get it there and turn it about another 1/10 of a turn. I bring the tailstock onto the mandrel, and I back off the tailstock. I just start the lathe going, and I just bring it a fraction of a turn and turn it off. We're ready to start turning. I've got the lathe at about 2,600 revs per minute. I use a 3/4 inch roughing gouge to do most of my turning, including the burls. I'm fairly aggressive in my turning, working from the outside in. This was a fairly large blank to start with, so it takes a bit longer than usual. I've got the camera in my face, so I'm not in a normal position. I'm popping a bit of sawdust in my face, but it's just good practice to come into the blank, into the center of the blank, rather than turn out. If you turn out, you tend to chick. There's a small probability that you, oops, that was a bit of a catch. There's a small probability that you chip off a bit of the cheek, which is quite difficult to recover from. And I'm just doing the fine turnings now. What I do, oops. I'm just not in my usual position. So that's getting fairly close, just a bit more on this side. Now I'm roughly where I should be, but I always just stop the lathe and I check the diameters of the blanks. Now that's 13.6. I want to be about 13. So it's 13.8 and I want to be about 13. And that's finished diameter is 13.6, but I always rough turn to 1/2 mil more than what I should be at, because I know just from trial and error and through experience that when I sand through the grades of sandpaper, I take about 0.8 of a mil off. And that way I go just a bit under the finished dimensions of the pen, but with the CA finished finish that I usually apply, I bring that surface back and then I buff it. Now, the lid of the pen should be 13.6, so I'm at 14 hang on, the camera's just in the way, 14.3 and 14.6, so I'm half a mil away there, and should be 12.3 and I'm at 13.3, so I'm half a mil off there too. That's 12.9, which is where I want to be. 13.1, 14.9, which is where I want to be. Sorry, 14.3, 14.1, that's where I want to be. So just 0.1 of a mil here, it's just a slight touch, and 0.1 of a mil there. All done. So now I'm about half a mil away from my finished dimensions. And I can start hitting it with the sandpaper.